For more than 30 years, visitors to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science have been able to enjoy the wonder, the whimsy, and the artistry of Vasily Konovalenko's gem carving sculptures. The display in Denver is the best and largest in the world. In today's video, museum scientist Steve Nash shares the results of his research on Konovalenko's work.
I began working here at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science in 2006. As I walked the museum to learn more about this dynamic and exciting place, I stumbled upon this exhibition, Konovalenko, Gem Carvings of Russian Folklife. I walked in and was immediately struck by these fascinating pieces of art. Their splendor, their color, their beauty, their technical sophistication. I began to wonder, who was the artist, Vasily Konovalenko? How did these sculptures get here? What do they mean? After many years, I now have some answers. So let's go inside and take a look. In the 1950s, Vasily Konovalenko was working as a set designer at the world-famous Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg, Russia. He had to work on the set for a ballet called The Stone Flower, and as a prop for that ballet, he had to make a box out of malachite, which is a banded green and black, copper-rich mineral that's native to Russia. In making that box out of malachite, Konovalenko fell in love with the art of gem carving himself. And for the next 16 years, he worked off and on as a hobby, making increasingly sophisticated gem carving sculptures. The thing that Konovalenko did that was different from everybody else is that he brought in many different kinds of stones, many different kinds of gems, all of which had radically different properties. He would bring together clear diamonds with black obsidian, blue sapphires with purple amethyst, banded agates, and other kinds of stones. And he could literally see into the stones to take advantage of their natural flaws, to create incredibly dynamic sculptures that really nobody else had done. The art of Russian gem carving to that time had really been much more static. But it was Konovalenko's background in the theater which leads to this dynamism. In the 1970s, Vasily Konovalenko was working full-time at the State Gems Museum in Moscow. While there, he made gem carving sculptures, but he also worked at the beck and call of Communist Party officials who wanted him to make tchotchkes and ornaments to give away as gifts at various parties. So he wasn't completely happy working in the Soviet Union. In 1981, the family obtained exit visas and moved to the United States. When the Konovalenko family arrived in New York City, Vasily called Jack Ortman, an American diamond dealer whom he had met in Moscow many years before. When Ortman received the phone call from Konovalenko, he recognized an opportunity and he called two friends, Michael Kazanjian, another diamond dealer, and Raphael Grigorian, a Russian-speaking medical supplies dealer. The three of them decided to sponsor Konovalenko and his work, and for the next 3 years, Konovalenko produced 20 of his finest pieces, all of which are now on display here at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. But how did they go on display here at the museum? Well, in 1983, one of Ortman's clients was Alvin Cohen, a Denver construction magnate and trustee of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. Cohen proposed that we put up a temporary exhibition of Konovalenko gem carving sculptures. It went up on March 15, 1984, and proved so popular with visitors that it was extended for a year, and then another year, and then again another year. And in 1989, Cohen worked with Ortman to donate the sculptures to the museum, and they've been on permanent display here ever since. Museum visitors always appreciate the aesthetics of these wonderful sculptures, but they don't always understand what they mean. So let's take a look at a few sculptures in detail so we can really understand what Konovalenko was up to. First sculpture I want to share with you is Gold Prospectors. It's the only Konovalenko sculpture with an American theme. In it, we see two dynamic, wizened, old gold miners fruitlessly panning away in the Colorado mountains looking for gold in a cold river stream. The younger man is standing up, his right hand, he's pinching something between his forefinger and his thumb, and that's probably a gold flake that he thinks is the indication that they've hit the mother lode, that the discovery is coming. The older man who's kneeling down is looking up at him and saying, "Yeah, we've heard this story before. I'm not so sure that you're going to be right, but I'll listen to you again." When Konovalenko finished this sculpture, or thought it was finished, he included only the two men panning away. When Alvin Cohen, the donor who gave these sculptures to the museum, saw it, he said, "You know what? I don't think it's quite finished yet. Would you add a donkey to it?" And Konovalenko went back to the drawing board and designed a donkey. He modeled it out of clay, and then he made it out of stone. And what a wonderful donkey it is. Look at the expressive face, the eyes, the neck, the blankets, the equipment on this. This is one of Konovalenko's crowning glory sculptures, and again, it's the only one with an American theme to it. The second sculpture I want to share with you is called Wanderer. It's actually misnamed. When I first looked at it, I thought this man was homeless. When I asked Mrs. Konovalenko about this, I found out how wrong I actually was. In 1666, the Russian Orthodox Church split, and some reforms were introduced that old believers did not like, they didn't believe in. And the way that this is indicated is by the man's hand signal. He's holding up 2 fingers, not 3. And the 2 fingers represent the Father and the Son, but not the Holy Ghost. You can see that he's walking along, chanting, holding up his hand signals and so on. But it's a wonderful sculpture. And in fact, if you look at close up at the man's eyes, you can see it's the first time that Konovalenko used 3 different stones to make an eye in a sculpture, and you can see how much more expressive they really are. They look truly human. The third sculpture I want to share with you is called Laundress. It's beautiful in its simplicity. It shows a peasant girl staring off into space, resigned to the monotonous plight of laundry day. The base that Konovalenko made is one single piece of malachite. The pool of water in which she's washing the clothes is made out of agate. And then you can see she's got a purple piece of clothing here, pyrite base, and so on. One of the reasons that this sculpture is so interesting and so fascinating is because it demonstrates Konovalenko's mastery of Bellerette's quartz, which is the quartz out of which all of her skin is made, her face, her arms, her legs, and so on. But a close-up of her face shows resigned contentedness. She's not unhappy about what she has to be doing. She's not excited about it either. But one of the things that I really like about this sculpture is the feminine touch that Konovalenko put on here in the form of a delicate pearl necklace around her neck. It contrasts sharply with the masculine robusticity of her back and hands and forearms. It's a wonderful, simple piece. In November 2014, the Konovalenko family came to Denver to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the exhibition going on display. Dr. Tatiana Munchin, Fabergé Collection Curator and Senior Researcher at the Kremlin Museum in Moscow, also joined in the festivities. For this event, museum photographer Rick Wicker and I were able to publish this, the first ever catalog of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science Konovalenko pieces. It's available at lulu.com, and it contains answers to the questions that you may have about this wonderful collection.